This first one that we're going to do was actually inspired by Berlin. Yeah, and my earliest visits to Berlin inspired this song. And it goes something like this. Far be it from me to quote the Dance Society, but it goes something like this. Absolutely, and it's a sound I've always loved. I was producing a record for the Convent many years ago. The studio was in a loft apartment and it had a corrugated roof, and the rain came bouncing down, and I immediately shut microphones out of the skylight to capture it. It's one of my favourite moments on that record, when you hear the rain behind his voice just hammering on the plastic corrugated roof. And I love the sound, but I love the rain. I love being, I went to Thailand one time, and the monsoons were leaving, and I had 3-4 days of monsoon rain, just playing backgammon and playing guitar and reading. It was one of the most relaxing 3-4 days I've ever had anywhere in my life, and I loved it so much. And it was just like really warm, but big proper rain, proper monsoon rain, did not stop for days. Paths that we used to take, they became like rivers that you couldn't get across anymore. It's just incredible. And I remember it washed all the coconuts into the ocean. It was all these like coconuts floating around, and all these like, because they love their dogs over there, then they have their dog, some friendly dogs, unfortunately, and we was like catching scraps in the shallows. And it's my favourite thing. I love the rain. I love the rain. It really calms me. Well, yeah, again, there's a lot of rain. You know, there's a person isn't safe, laughing in the rain, and Swamp Thing, the rain comes. It's interesting that you asked me this question here, because Berlin was the inspiration for that song. The walls tumbling down that I was singing about was I imagined the Berlin Wall falling down, and I imagined like Western consumerism, shall we say, the Western way. Because I always knew that when we used to come here, we used to come through the corridor with all the half stone-faced soldiers. And one of the easiest ways of minimising that experience, the unpleasantness of that experience, was to give them things, right? They would like, the things they'd take empty Coca-Cola cans, right? Records, obviously, posters, but I like iconic things with logos on them. And I found out it was because people over here on the eastern part of it like to have them in the flats. They like to have Coca-Cola signs or Coca-Cola tins, things that were Western. And I got to thinking of that, if that fell down and this Western consumerism just then raced through the city, or even the Eastern thing, what would the effect of that be? It could be like the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? I had these thoughts. So that was the idea of something. It was inspired by the situation in Berlin that I could see. It was a separated city. Never dreaming in a million years that 7 years later, whatever it was, it would happen. I had no idea that would happen. And it was interesting because that's what it felt like when I came back very early on. After that, it felt like that's what happened. It just rushed in. Suddenly, you got like banks were the first things I noticed, and cash machines in the wall, and the Mercedes sound, and suddenly like it was, and these people who didn't really know what hit, trying to define themselves in all of that, because they didn't really feel like they were German as such. They weren't Russian or whatever. They were kind of somewhere in between, and they didn't seem like they were given much of a chance to define themselves as an entity in their own right. A culture. It's a different culture. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, and that's what I'd imagine it'd be like when I flew to Swampton. I remember sitting in a cafe in Berlin back then, thinking, well, are they trying to keep the Eastern, are they trying to keep their control, which they were obviously, but I mean, is it their control, are they trying to keep their control in, to keep people in, or are they trying to keep this out? Are they trying to keep the Western side, do they look at West Berlin as a spot of cancer in body politic? What is the real perception?